Jay Smith back again. You can hear the fountains, beautiful fountains behind me. I'm in a gorgeous garden, still in Addis, here in Ethiopia. Addis is the capital, Addis Ababa. And I'm talking about Jesus again and peace. We're doing a series on Jesus, looking at FAQs, how to answer questions. There's always been this question about Jesus, and a lot of Muslims try to assume that Jesus was very violent as well. We looked at what he did in the temple. We looked in earlier in Luke, where we had the king have one of his men killed before him, one of his servants. We answered both of those. Now we come to a more problematic situation where Jesus is in the upper room. This is before his crucifixion. The day before, he's at the table. So he's sitting at the table, laying at the table with his disciples. And as I opened up to Luke chapter 22, so I'm in the Bible here, reading Luke chapter 22, looking at verse 36. But now if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It is written, he was numbered with the transgressors, and I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, what is written about me is reaching fulfillment. The disciples said, most people think it's Peter, see, Lord, here are 2 swords. That is enough, he replied. So Muslims say this is clear proof that Jesus is asking us to pick up swords. But take a look at the situation. Look at the context. Look what's happening there in the upper room. Swords in the upper room. They're at a table. What are swords doing at a table? Well, they aren't. They're not swords. Look at the word in Greek. It's makai. A makai is, a knife, like a dagger, only about 1 foot long. And it's what everybody would use, every male would use for everyday work. It was the most practical thing to have at all times. Makai is what Paul used when he cut the tents as a tent maker. Makai, you would clean your fingernails with it. The fact that Peter picked the 2 up there at the table and said, what about these 2? And Jesus says, that's enough. If you wanted to have an insurrection or go and destroy the world with 2 swords, no. These are 2 Makais. So how do we interpret that? What was going on there? Why is Jesus saying, sell your cloak and buy a sword? Remember, he'd been taking care of them for 3 years. Everything had come from him, and so now he knew that he was leaving. And that's why he was getting them prepared. Go sell your cloak and buy that which is most important to you. I guess if I were an American, what would be an equivalent today? Oh, I know. American men, we love to have Swiss Army knives. That's probably the most important thing to us as American men. That would be the equivalent. So in some ways, go buy that which you're going to have to take care of yourself. Not as an insurrection, because the very next day, Peter took out his Makai, and he actually attacked the servant that was coming to arrest Jesus, and he cut off the ear in Matthew chapter 26. Read what happened. Jesus takes the ear, puts it back on the servant, turns towards Peter and said, put away your Makai, for he who lives by the Makai that way. Now we translated, unfortunately, sword. Should really be dagger or knife. But he who lives by the sword that way dies by the sword that way. No, we're not to use the sword for Jesus Christ. We're not to use any violence for Jesus Christ. We're to take care of ourselves, yes, and we are going to be responsible for our actions. But no, there's nothing there that says that we're to start an insurrection or use violence whatsoever. Nothing like what Muhammad did, when Muhammad even praised one of his disciples for killing Asma bint Marwan, who was using poetic verse against him. Jesus is not like that. Never allowed even one of his disciples to defend him. That's my Jesus. You want a man of peace? Come on back to Jesus. Ooh, the sun's coming out. Right on cue. Isn't this great? Such a beautiful garden here in Addis Ababa. This is Jay then. Over now. God bless you.